What I'm going to present to you may give some of you the impression that I have never heard of how to do therapy. Evidently, I have never heard of Freud, of the right approaches to solve human problems, etc., etc. Yes, I have. I got my training at the Jung Institute in Zurich. So I'm not only trained in going into the personal unconscious and look for the reasons there that makes the person behave like this in the present, but also the collective unconscious, full of archetypes. And so let me please insist on this. For me, the turnaround came, as you already mentioned, after 3 years of teaching at the University of El Salvador, psychopathology, psychodynamics. I went to Philadelphia, Temple University, and there I had the incredible fortune of seeing Don Jackson, who had come just to give a presentation of his theories. And I tell you, this was absolutely turned me totally around. And Jackson was fantastic. I mean, he sometimes did therapy within the first 10 minutes of the first session. I remember a couple of cases, let me mention them. He once worked with a gentleman who was convinced that he knew he was too suspicious. He himself knew this. He was full of suspicions. And Jackson, started working with him. And at a given moment, the man said, "Dr. Jackson, do you know that there are hidden microphones in your office?" And Jackson did not say, "What makes you think that? And what in your past gives you these suspicions?" No. He got up, looked behind the furniture, took the books out of the bookshelves, turned up the carpet, until the patient said, "Dr. Jackson, it isn't that important, and he began to talk about things that indeed were of importance in his life. Another marvelous case that I remember is at the VA hospital. They asked him to give a presentation as to how to establish contact with a very withdrawn patient. And they had brought in a man who was in their closed ward, an elderly man who believed he was God, and never spoke to anybody and never participated in any activities in the ward. So they brought him in, he sat there next to Don Jackson and just looked. And Jackson tried various approaches to establish communication with somebody like this, and it was totally useless. So he got up out of his chair, walked over, knelt down on his knees in front of the patient, pulled out the ward key, and said, "If you are God, then you have more right to this key than I have. If you aren't God, I think you're being very, very you should pay much more attention to what's going on around you." And he got up and went back to his chair, and the patient got up, put his chair in front of Jackson's, looked at him and said, "Man, of the two of us, one is crazy." So, and another person who had an enormous influence on us was Gregory.